problematically depicted a classically abusive relationship as an idealized romance. The Beast's actions towards Belle are not characteristic of a healthy relationship, and the fact that he is presented to have changed in the end as a result of Belle's love reinforces American culture's vision of love as transformative and places responsibility on the shoulders of women victims. So for my senior project, I delved further into this sort of research and found that there are two very distinct bodies of feminist scholarship on domestic violence. The first, which is on the left, involves critique of cultural representations of intimate relationships, such as I described earlier in Beauty and the Beast. Research typical of this body of literature debates questions such as, do romance narratives reinforce potentially dangerous patriarchal social hierarchies? Much of this research focuses on novels, but it is more than just literary analysis, and it incorporates feminist knowledge about domestic violence and even prevention research. The second significant body of feminist literature on domestic violence studies the legal and criminal justice systems' responses to domestic violence. Within disciplines like feminist jurisprudence, scholars try to answer questions such as, do the approaches taken by these institutions coincide with feminist understandings of domestic violence? For example, feminist critics have argued that while the battered women's movement of the 1970s emphasized the importance of providing for victim autonomy throughout the legal system, such contemporary policies as mandatory arrest preferences and prosecutorial discretion undermine this feminist vision. Between these two bodies of literature, there's what I call the romance gap. Despite both types of work focusing on feminist theories and domestic violence, I have only found one scholar, Nan Subert, researching the intersection. Specifically, she critically examines the consequences of the romance genre's construction of love for the legal system's response to domestic violence. My senior research is similarly situated within this gap. In order to learn more about the relationship between cultural representations of domestic violence and the legal response to it, I designed a two-part content analysis reflective of both bodies of literature. First, I sampled 8 romance novels, chosen based on their status as award-winning, but also written by best-selling authors. These novels were coded based on the constructions of love understood by previous researchers to be related to domestic violence. Second, I chose 2 United States Senate hearing transcripts regarding the Violence Against Women Act, or VAWA. I'll refer to it as VAWA throughout. This act was initially passed in 1994 and is the primary piece of federal legislation regulating the nation's response to domestic violence. The documents that I studied contain the official record of 2 Senate hearings on the effectiveness of the VAWA and what changes may need to be made. My coding and analysis of this data was based on a framework of legal storytelling, which comes from Richard Delgado. And so I narrowed my focus to witness statements and written submissions that can be understood as narratives to go with the storytelling. Within the first half of my study, I found a significant variety in the construction of love, but many novels did represent abusive dynamics, particularly jealousy, which is outside of novels, often a flag that a relationship is unhealthy. It's also linked to feminist criticisms of romance and patriarchy. Bell Hooks, for example, claims that love and patriarchal culture is linked to notions of possession and to paradigms of domination and submission. On the other hand, some novels explicitly rejected this construction of love, instead building relationships that I argue align with Hooks' vision of a feminist liberatory love, which claims that there can be no love where there is domination. Feminist thinking and practice emphasize the value of mutual growth and self-actualization in partnerships, where everyone's needs are respected, where everyone has rights, and where no one fears subordination or abuse. Thus, the novels lie on the spectrum between these two poles. Every novel sampled, however, did present love as transformative. In some cases, the hero would stop smoking, or the heroine would become more self-confident. In others, the hero would evolve from cynical and mean to optimistic and caring, with the construction of the novel making this change clear as a result of falling in love. They gave reference points for larger discourses on love in which abuse victims may place themselves. Super, the only scholar I found working within the romance gap, found in her study that women regularly draw on dominant discourses of romance when they explain their relationships with their abusers. Specifically, a transformative vision of love often influenced women's decisions to stay with abusive men. Yet attorneys and judges confronted with this understanding by the women Given these counter-stories by nature are making claims for change, these emotional appeals can most accurately be interpreted as techniques to gain empathy from the lawmaker and increase the chances that the desired change will be made. So, what's the importance of all of this? My research into the cultural construction of love and romance indicates that much of the feminist criticism is accurate, and the idealized version of love is sometimes abusive. An understanding of the connection between love and